Hey, welcome to Lecture 15 in my Cognitive Psychology course. In Lecture 15, we're going to talk about several different topics. Here, we're going to talk about the fragility of memory, new memories being especially fragile. And in the Lecture 15.2, we'll talk about how your brain rewires as you learn. Turns out you are rewiring your brain all the time. In the third segment, we're going to talk about what your hippocampus might or might not be doing as your brain rewires as you learn. And then finally, we're going to talk about the cause underlying that reminiscence bump. In this segment, what do I mean by saying memories are fragile? We think that our memories are unchanging, as if they're carved in stone, that they're accurate reflections of what actually happened in the past. And it turns out that's just not true. It's an illusion. In fact, when you first create a new memory, that memory is incredibly fragile. And by fragile, I mean changeable, plastic, really mushy. You could think of new memories as being very, very mushy. Why is that important? Well, it's very important for how students should study for exams. Let me explain to you an old study that has very big implications. So, two groups of subjects, they're going to study the same two lists of nonsense syllables for exactly the same amount of time, and yet one group is going to remember twice as much as the other group. Okay. So both groups, they start out learning the first list of nonsense syllables, and they study them until they have them remembered perfectly. One group, the immediate group, as soon as they're done studying the first list and they've memorized it, then they start studying the second list and they memorize that second list. Okay? So that would be students who just force themselves to study and study and study and study. So you study, say, one chapter worth of material, and then you turn right around and start studying the second chapter of material. That would be the immediate group. The delay group studied the same list of nonsense syllables, the first one, and they studied the same list of nonsense syllables until they could memorize them perfectly, the same second list. But what differed between the immediate and the delay group is that the delay group waited 6 minutes between memorizing list 1 and memorizing list 2. They both groups, the immediate and delay group, were tested for their memory at the same time. So overall, the same amount of time passed. And what happened? The immediate group could only remember about a quarter of the first list. The delay group could remember about half of the first list. Hello. Okay, remember when I talked to students about taking a break, taking frequent study breaks? Check this out. You take a 6-minute study break and your memory for the first chapter that you studied doubles. Study smart, folks. Okay, these researchers looked at this data and said, there has to be some process that takes new fragile memories, so basically the memories from that first list of nonsense syllables. There has to be a process that takes those new and fragile memories and transforms them into more permanent memories. And they called that process consolidation, essentially taking memories and making them solid, making them really strong. So why does the time gap matter in the study that I just told you about? When there's that delay group that had 6 minutes between the two lists that they had to memorize, they allowed themselves enough time for consolidation of the first list. The immediate group, you study one list and immediately study the next list, there wasn't an opportunity of consolidation. So people remembered half as much. Same amount of studying, same amount of time, but if you use cognitive psychology, you can remember twice as much. Come right back and we'll talk about how your brain actually does consolidation.